Good afternoon, it's Peter Ingram at Broadleys Nurseries. Today I want to talk to you about something really important to understand about growing plants, and that is your feeds. Now, all plants will need lots and lots of different elements to thrive, but the main ones they need is light, air, water, and particularly the carbon from the air, which they get from being outside. Other nutrients they need, major nutrients, is nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. There are other trace elements which are extremely important, like magnesium, iron, calcium, etc., boron. But to keep it as simple as possible, what I want to do to you today is talk to you about the most important. Regardless, we're leaving to one side the air, the light, and the water. So we're going to deal with basically your packets of your feeds for your plants. The first thing to understand is that every single plant feed has to have in Europe and the UK a declaration of what is actually in there. So the percentages of what element is actually in that plant. And the most basic one you usually find is something like Grow More or Fish Blood and Bone, which is usually written on a packet in some form like this, like NPK 777. Now, just put that on there for you. Nitrogen, the N, corresponds to the first number, which is for green growth. So your plant needs the nitrogen to make green growth. The second element, P, is phosphorus, and that's predominantly used for root growth. And the last one, K, corresponds with the last number, is potassium, which is for your flowers and your fruits. So if you see a number like this one, or very similar to this one, it could be like 767, this is what you would call a balanced feed. And this is what you would do mid part of the growing season to keep all the elements up, so your plant's got a wonderful supply of everything it actually needs to grow properly. Now, what we can also do from this is, by looking at this, there is another method. I'll show you that, how it's written more on the more modern days in a moment, after we've done the old-fashioned way. So what we can do is we can actually tailor what sort of growth response we want from the plant by the amount of NPK that we've got going into the plant. So that's a balanced feed. So if we look at here, we've got NPK 10, 4, 1. So 10 is the nitrogen, 4 is the potassium, 1 is the phosphorus, 4 is the phosphorus, and the year 1 is the potassium. So on this one here, what we've got here is nitrogen is the highest element. So what this will do is, if you've got a shrub that's in need of pruning, or again something like lavender that's gone all woody, what you can do is, and hedging and things, what you can do to spark a better growth is you can add a high nitrogen feed. And what this will do is we'll get your plant to back bud, new green shoots, so you can cut the plant back hard and then get your nice green fresh growth again like you usually do, instead of it all going woody. So that is like a high nitrogen feed. The next one we go there, I mean, there is various different elements of this one where we've got the phosphorus is the highest amount, and we usually use that in the form of a well-known product called bone meal, which is where you put into the ground when you're planting a big shrub on a tree, helps the plant get a root. You can add other things like mycorrhizal fungi, but make sure you use the right one, because they don't work that well on acidic soil. So again, if we want to promote a lot of growth when we're putting a big plant in, a tree, a shrub, so forth, so on, we want basically a high phosphorus. And you want lots of fruits and flowers. Usually you get another number in the nitrogen as well, but you want the potassium to be the highest amount. And what that generally tends to do is you'll find that in really good quality tomato feeds. So the more potassium, the more flowers and the more fruit you're going to get. So you can use just a basically high potassium feed, like a tomato feed, Tomarite, a really good one. You can use that in your hanging baskets and your borders to promote a lot more flowers. This particular variety is, we usually use, and I've talked to a few people about it on the site, about an 0-10-10 feed is things like your shrubs, especially things like your camellias, azaleas and things that you want to flower early, your viburnums. You want to start feeding an 0-10-10 feed. around about September. And what that will do is it will give the roots nice good strength, and it'll give you a backlog of potassium, so you can get a nice early bloom the following year. That's the traditional way we do it. The other way it's done, you'll see on a more modern, you will see something like this written on the packet. So we've got 12% nitrogen, 12% phosphorus, 12% potassium. There will be other things like your calcium and your boron and your zinc and your magnesiums in there. But this is, again, basically these, when they're around about the same they are, that is a balanced feed. So 12%, 12%, 12%. There is your high phosphorus. And there is, again, your OTA, so that's your high potassium feed, like your bloom feeds, your flower power bloom feeds, and so forth and so on. So if you want more flowers, more potassium. Want more roots, more phosphorus. Want more green, more nitrogen. And it's basically quite as simple as that. What I will tell you is with certain products, go very careful if you're not used to feeding your plants, because something can happen to most of us humans when we've never used plant food before. You use it and you get such wonderful results, you thought, oh, I'll chuck some more in. Or I'll make the feed a bit stronger and I'll chuck some more in. And what you end up doing with your the main plant food available at the moment is chemical based. So the more chemicals you go in, you can overdo it. So always follow the manufacturer's instructions to the packet, to the letter. I know us men tend to chuck a bit more in, go, oh, a bit more won't hurt. But what you can do rather quickly is you can chemically scorch the roots. And once you do that, it's like me putting a blowtorch to your tongue and then telling you to drink water. It's not happening. And then the plant doesn't look so well, so they chuck some more food in and do more damage. And then the plant don't look too well, so they chuck more food in, and then you start saying to yourself, well, I'm not very good at growing. Oh, excuse me. The other thing I would do is if you make your own composts or you're using organic composts, make sure they are not whole. Like when you make your compost at home, if you put predominantly green in your compost bin, you're going to get predominantly nitrogen out of it. So this is where you get about building the balancing of your homemade composts, or even some of your organic composts. I mean, they're written the same as these, but if you make them yourself, like with your things like your comfrey tea, and you make it about just the green, you're just going to get a load of green growth because it's mainly nitrogen gone in there. Okie dokie, hopefully that helped, and I'll speak soon.